and welcome to my podcast on real relationships. My name is Sophie Passon. I am a relationship expert, international speaker, and best-selling author of the book Your Other Half. I decided to start this podcast because, in my opinion, relationships are currently not being portrayed as what they really are. Whether you're watching the news, TV, social media, the perception given to people is wrong, and my aim is to talk about what happens in the real world, talk about real stories, and listen to what real people think, do, or go through, as opposed to creating expectations of something that doesn't exist. I may not agree with everything that is said by my guest, but it is their chance to express their opinions and their stories. And today we have Charlie, who is going to talk to us about an abusive relationship with a parent. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Good. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
I am nearly turning 30. I am a holistic therapist, and I haven't seen my mother since 1999.
1999?
Okay. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. So,
can you tell us a bit about your childhood and what happened?
So my mother was an alcoholic. As far as I'm aware, because I was quite young at the time, she used drugs too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was basically her carer. I have a younger sister, and so I had to look after both of us as well as my mother. There was times in our relationship that she was very abusive towards me, but not my sister, because I look like my dad. But that's all, it's all assumptions, because I don't have that relationship now with my mother. So in my head it's logic, one thing or another. So we were in and out of foster care because my dad was in the Navy, so he wasn't aware of any of
anything going on. And how old were you roughly at the time?
So it was all of my childhood, but once I realised there was something wrong was when I was probably about 5 or 6. So my mum's always had a problem with drink, but it was when, schools asked questions and things like that, and it was only until other people that I realised that my life was different.
Yeah. So did you tell them what it was really like?
Yes. So I remember one time, so even to the point that I had no pens or pencils, like the things that your parents distributed. So I remember one time a teacher staying behind and giving me a notebook and some pens, so I had something to bring to my next lesson. Or why I didn't attend. So I used to make sure my sister was there, but I knew that my mum was comatose, so I had to go back and make sure that she wasn't vomiting, that sort of stuff. I have learning difficulties, not learning difficulties, as in, I need support, but I couldn't read or write until the age of 7.
Right.
So I was behind because of what happened in my childhood.
Okay. And what was going through your head at the time? Because you were obviously a very young child, and obviously to start off with, you didn't know this wasn't normal. But then once you knew that it was, different, what was going through your head at the time? Do you remember?
So I just carried on, just got to get on with it. I never had any other option. It's only now, as I grow and go through those flashbacks or those problems, that I discovered that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And how to deal with that, because it's an ongoing process. My life will always change because of what's happened. It was only until my last stint in foster care that I realised that my life was going to change. There was a routine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I ended up in hospital, we went and stayed with a family member or a foster home, or we never knew what they were. They were just to look after us. But it was only for a small amount of time. My mum got out of rehab, we would go stay with her again, and it was just this big cycle until we were living in rental accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, obviously she didn't pay the bills. I don't know how we ended up in the bedsit, but we ended up in the bedsit.
Okay.
And that's when someone else was in charge of our housing, and she decided that this wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
She decided that we needed not to be in her care, which I'm very grateful for now. But obviously at the time, I didn't know anything different. My role was to look after my mum. I didn't want to be ripped away from her, But at the same time now, I'm really, really happy that it happened.
How old were you at the time?
So 1999, so I'm 30 now. So I think I was around 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in year 6. So so I was in year 5. I stayed with my grandparents while my whole family fought for us, which is odd. And my grandparents looked after us on my dad's side until my dad left the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first thing I knew about it.
And were you then staying with your dad?
Yeah, so once we finished the term at school, we moved in with my dad. He got sole custody of us, and we started a normal sort of relationship, a normal childhood. Apart from, obviously I had learning difficulties, so I had to go to extra classes and things like that. But again, I still, to this day, still don't trust that things aren't going to change. I've always got the fear that something is just looming around the corner, that isn't quite, I can't trust that life's safe. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, I get that. And did your dad ever speak to you about that time and him not knowing? What did he say to you?
So it caused a lot of mental health issues for me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. So obviously I being in an abusive relationship, so my mum was physical with me, not my sister, and I never understood why. And not that I want my sister to.
No, I know what you're saying. But why me and not both of us, sort of thing?
Yeah. And so one time I tried to kill myself, and that is probably the only regret I do have out of all of this, because that was something she used to do a lot.
Yeah.
Attempt to kill herself. So at this point, that's when my dad realised how traumatic my childhood was. So one time, that time we sat up till God knows out, and I told him everything, and it destroyed him. It really did. The fact that.
How old were you at the time?
So I was just my second year of secondary school. So I was self-harming, and so I ended up in counselling, talk therapy, and they only found out because my stepmom read my diary, which again, at the time, when you're a young teenager, you're like, oh my God, you've ruined my life. But again, I'm happy that happened. Everything happens for a reason, right? And yeah.
I get your dad, it must have been feeling so guilty, and
totally. Even to this day, he feels guilty because, and even when I do get blips, because I do have a wobbly mental health. I call them wobble moments. So he's always my first protocol. So since that day, we've been like that. We've been close to close, and nothing could get in between us. So it made our relationship stronger. So out of a crappy situation became a beautiful relationship between me and my dad. So you win some, you lose some, I suppose.
Yeah. And what's the relationship like with your sister?
So my sister, where we've lived together, so I'm one of 5 now. So my dad had already had 2 children with my stepmom, and she already had another child. So when we moved in, we lived together. We were in, so we got on then, and then when we moved apart, so we've got a great relationship now, but it's always been a bit Jonathan. It's always been a bit like, you got everything and I didn't, sort of thing, because she's clever, she's got great grades, she seemed quite popular. But I think that again was me seeing that.
Yeah.
Now as you're an adult, you talk about these things, and I didn't know she also got bullied. I didn't know any of this. So yeah. It's hard being an adult. It's hard.
But yeah, it is, isn't it? And so you went and lived with your dad, and you never saw your mum since?
No, and that was my choice. My sister has a relationship with my mum now, because both of us have been through mental health issues through because of our childhood. So we've ended up in counselling, and she decided that she needed to have a relationship with them, to find out why, what caused it to happen. Where I think I'm okay now. I don't want to open those wounds. My life now, I've learned how to trust people. I've learned to carry on. I've got my life because I did it, so I don't see any benefit in me having that relationship open again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive of my sister to have the relationship that she wants, so it's sort of like being a middleman.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. What is your mum like now? Has she stopped drinking? Is she better, or is it still the same?
So she's been diagnosed. So this is what I found out through like the grapevine. So she's been clean for at least 7 years. She's got bipolar, and she's also got another mood disorder, and that's all because of what she put her body through.
Okay.
So it's all because she was an alcoholic, and she destroyed her brain cells, basically. So and she hasn't got much life. This is what my sister says. She's living off of the benefits. She's unable to work because she just doesn't have the mental capacity to. So she's destroyed her future life too, as well as her current life.
And have you forgiven her for her behaviour? Do you think you might in the future?
I'm still working on it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
For instance, I don't know when it will hit. I get flashbacks, and I never know when these feelings will arise. Like the other day, I was involved in an accident. I saw someone get run over. I was the first on the scene. And then from that instant onwards, so once everything was fine, she was sent off to hospital, everything was fine, I sat down and started having flashbacks of when I did it for my mother. So yeah, it's just like, for goodness sake, I just want to get on with my life. So and I thought, so I've accepted them. I've accepted what has happened, and I've accepted that there's nothing I can do to change it. I don't know if I've forgiven her. I've forgiven it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The past. I'm still working on her. I don't know.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. And do you think that it obviously it's affected your life, but do you think it's affected your life in terms of you being a mother, or the relationship that you would have with your kids? Do you want kids?
Yeah, so I've gone around the big circle. So when I was a young 20s, that's all I ever wanted. I wanted to prove a thing. I wanted to prove to the world that I could do a better job. And then in the relationship that I'm in now with my partner, I discovered love, the actual true love, just acceptance and the ability to coexist with someone. And that was enough.
Yeah.
If I will have children, it'll happen. Like, I have like a sense that if it happens, it happens. I don't want to try for those things. I believe that children are gifts. So that's one thing that my mother has taught me, that I shouldn't waste the opportunity to have children, because they are. So I am one of, so I've got 7 godchildren. So I've got enough in my life that I'm able to help. I'm able to do the sort of fulfill the mumminess that I need to, and but no, I don't. Honestly, in the next 5 years, I don't think I will be having children unless it magically happens.
Fair enough. And obviously, you know, we're going on assumptions here, and she was obviously, you know, alcohol, drugs. I know you get addicted, but why do you think it started? Do you know why she started drinking? Why she started taking drugs? Was there an actual reason why she behaved in that way?
So she had quite a traumatic childhood. So her mum died when she was 14.
Mm-hmm.
So she's always had issues.
Yeah.
Know what happened, and I never will know. But and then my dad and her split.
Yeah.
And I think that may have been the biggest trigger of her feeling alone again, feeling abandoned, feeling like, so I can sympathise or empathise because, you know, that happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's the juggle that I'm always juggling in my head. Well, you've just gone and done the exact same thing that your dad did or your mum did. Well, not dying is abandonment, but, you know, and I just think she wasn't mentally ill. I've accepted why she's done it. So I believe that she was weak.
Mm-hmm.
It was the easier option. It was basically it was the easier option to forget her.
Numbing the pain, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been in the depths of depression. I've locked myself in a room for 2 weeks. So I get that I can empathise with her, but I don't know if
right necessarily.
No, and I don't know whether it would be different if I had children. You know?
Yeah,
I don't.
And do you think that you might one day go and see her, or is it a definite no, that's not happening?
I honestly don't know. I often think, will it change my feelings? Will it close up the boxes that keep arising? Because like I still have so my boyfriend's mum is amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a second daughter. And in troubling times when things happen, accidents happen, you go to your mum and dad, don't you? She's always been there for the last sort of 3 years, and it's hard to be able to see that relationship. And so I'm not even anyone to her, if that makes sense. So her being able to do that to someone else's child, and so I don't know. It's never going to be the relationship that I crave for. Yeah. So if I do have a relationship with my mother, it wouldn't be because she's my mother. It would be just because it is. It'll never be the relationship she wants or I want. So I don't really know.
And it's interesting because I was actually going to ask you whether you had created a mother relationship with anyone else as a result, which you have.
All of my female relationships are either one or two things. Right. I've done a lot of self-development this year, so I've done a lot of like looking at myself and my relationship. So it's either I adopt the mother relationship, I look after or they adopt the mother relationship. Right. So I've like one of my good friends is 62. And she looks after me, whenever I've worked with colleagues that are slightly older than me, female colleagues, they look after me. So any female relationship is either one or the other. I look after them or they look after me. And it's just natural the way it's happened. Mm-hmm. And I think that has got a lot to do with the fact of my childhood. I either find broken birds in friendships or I want to be the broken bird. So it's only this sort of year that I've discovered that about myself, and I'm like, oh my God, light bulb moment, right? Yeah.
And it is, I mean, obviously, because from a young age, you were put in a situation to nurture your mother, really, which, and some people may not have even have reacted in the way that you did. So it shows a very nurturing, caring nature anyway. So it does make sense, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that's how I ended up in my career that I'm in. I've always had the fulfilling need to look after someone because that's what I was put on this world to do, I believe. So I'm a holistic therapist, so I massage people, I do spiritual healing, I do all of that. So I've just fallen into that path because naturally want to do it.
And you've mentioned trust a few times. What is your trust like now?
A lot better than it has been. So I'm discovering that so I have a fear of rejection,
yeah,
and a fear of abandonment, because those are the two things that kept happening with my relationships when I was younger. And then as I've got older and got into physical relationships with boyfriends and stuff, I always seek the controlling type, because
because you needed that reassurance from someone looking after you.
Yeah. And it was only by accident that me and my partner found each other. But even to new relationships, I often think, like friendships that I'm building on, often think, oh, what have I done? Have I done anything upset? Like, I overanalyze every single conversation that I ever have, because I'm worried that I've done something.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they've not even thought that I've done something, let alone it was an issue. So, yeah. And that's going to be an ongoing thing. It's never going to go away, because that's the way I was built. And it's, coming to terms and accepting that it's hard sometimes.
And I think it's also comes to self-acceptance. You know, we can't change the past. It was things that you could not control, was there?
Yeah. And this week I've been doing a lot of inner child stuff. So the accident that I mentioned before happened on Friday, and I realised that all of my sudden reactions were what my childhood me, and those behaviours are probably not applicable to things. So I spent an hour colouring and connecting with my inner child, and had like a talk with myself and told myself that it's okay, we're safe, you know, it's okay, enjoy your life, because I want to enjoy my life, and I don't want to be thinking and worrying about the next step. And being in the present moment rather than the future moments, or the past moments, because it is a vicious cycle.
Yeah, completely. And what advice would you give someone who may have doubts around the safety of a child, or that's something untoward, shall we say? Definitely
call social services or call 101, whatever the police number is, because what the steps that they put in place can be taken back, you know?
Yeah.
It's better being safe than sorry, because I was in and out of care because my mum couldn't look after us, so we were put in care, and one of her family members would cover it up and take us out. So it could have happened a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Care system, or no, not the care system wasn't to blame. It was her family members, you know, covering up her mental health issues, her thinking and things like that. So always look from the child's point of view.
Yeah.
It's better than sorry. Always. Yeah, definitely.
And I know you've said that you had the one regret, but apart from that, do you have any regrets?
No, like, I honestly believe you should never regret decisions, like obviously apart from no, I'm not, I suppose I don't regret trying to kill myself, because I didn't succeed. That was a sign from the greater power that I didn't succeed, so there was a purpose for me to be here. So I suppose I don't really regret it, because it gave me
I think also it's what I had, that relationship with your dad, and for all the stuff to come out, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it needed to happen. So I don't think anyone should regret things. They should learn from it. If they get the feelings of regret, they should work out why they regret it, and then learn from scenarios, because we're all put on the world for a purpose, or to feel something, to be able to learn, because every day we've got to learn something.
The thing is, where with regrets, you know, if it's still in your head, it's often because it still needs addressing. And yes, you cannot change the past, but you can influence the future if it's still an issue. And I think people sometimes forget that.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got to remember that sometimes we're programmed to, because of the past.
Oh, we're so programmed, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you need to rejig that program to be able to enjoy the future and to be able to change your coping methods. Because like I said, the behaviours of a 5-year-old isn't what a 30-year-old should be dealing with. You know, it's mind-boggling.
We can't create, we can't control the outcomes. We can't control life. The only thing we can control is how we react.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. And I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
That our reactions are the only thing that we can control.
Exactly. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I hope it really inspires someone. So if you've enjoyed the show, then please subscribe, leave us a review, and more importantly, come back for the next episode. Thank you.